The backdoor pack, some people immediately get it, but I remember like my dad is very interested in like my career and always like learning what's happening. And when I went to go visit Finland last fall, I brought the backdoor pack and I said, Dad, look at this. We just designed this. And he's like, what do you mean backdoor pack? And I was like, then I got to explain to my father what that means. So,
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy! Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Ask Us Anything, where I team up with longtime friend of the show and friend in general, Meshai, who is also a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified in both trauma therapy and sex therapy, and is a coach working with the incredible team over at Expansive Connection, helping you or people like you explore relationships of all kinds, including non-monogamy. You can find out more information about Meshai and Expansive Connection using the links in the podcast show notes down below or over on our website. And normally I don't do introductions up front before these Ask Us Anything episodes. We usually jump right into them. But after editing today's episode, there were a few things I wanted to jump up front here and talk about so you kind of know what's coming and so you don't have to spend the whole episode trying to write down all the resources. So today we are bringing in a special guest, Mila Impola, who is the Director of Marketing for Global Protection, which is the parent company that makes One Condoms or My One Condoms, which is, if you've listened to the show for a long time, they've been a longtime partner of ours. We love working with them. And we're just really excited about this conversation today, answering all of your questions about condoms, condom usage, how to make condoms more enjoyable, all of the things. And really quick, just wanted to kind of set the tone for what you're about to listen to today. So first of all, today is not a 1-hour advertisement for One Condoms. Actually, one of the things I absolutely love about this conversation and working with Mila is that she is so dedicated and passionate about bringing you the best sexual health information and education possible, whether it's a One Condom product or a One product or any other product out there on the market. So today, Mila is going to talk a bit about some of the products that One offers, but also a whole bunch of other amazing, incredible products and resources for you that you can check out to help bring a little more awesomeness and sexiness into your life when you're using condoms. And so with that in mind, all of the things that Mila talks about today are linked in the podcast show notes, either down below in your podcast player. There's a direct link that will take you to our website, or you can go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can click on the podcast tab, and under there, you will see you will see all of our previous episodes, including this one, where you can check out links to all of the resources that we talk about today. And one of those resources, or one thing I did want to remind you all about, is that we have a discount code for One and One Condoms, and that code is Emma. Again, that will be listed in the show notes, so you do not have to remember any of the stuff I just said, other than how to get to our podcast show notes over on our website, again, or down below. One other thing I did want to remind everybody about, or actually tell you about, because there's something happening tonight that's really exciting. So if you're listening to this on October 25th, Friday, October 25th, tonight, Emma and I are hosting a virtual speed friending event. We used to call these virtual meet and greets, but they're a way for you to come and meet amazing people from all over the world, spend a couple hours talking, getting to know people in a low stakes, low pressure environment. And we'd love to have you come join us. If you'd like some more information about how to do that, again, while you're on our website, checking out all those links I was telling you about earlier, there's a banner at the top that you can find a direct link there to sign up. You can pay whatever you want to join us. And we just love to have you come check it out and spend a few hours with us tonight. The other thing I wanted to tell you about really quick, because it's super exciting and it's for a limited time only, Emma and I just put out brand new shirts. If you'd like to check out what those look like and get yourself one at a discounted launch price that will be up for about another week until Halloween, until October 31st, you can check those out. They're on our homepage. You'll find them. They're pretty easy to spot. So please head over there, check all that out. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Meshai, who actually starts off the interview. Again, I don't normally talk up here, but there were a few things I wanted you to know about. And so with that, over to Meshai.
Hello, and welcome to Ask Us Anything, where we answer questions from our awesome community. We are joined today by Mila and Pola with One Condoms. This is Fin, not speaking, but Fin is here. And this is Meshai, and we're so excited to spend some time with you.
Yeah, super excited to be here. And Mila, you've been on the show a few times, and we're excited to have you back today for what we've decided to call Condom University.
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. And I'm so excited about all the questions that came in from the community. So very excited to chat.
We got some awesome ones, and we're gonna go through them here. And I will just say up front, this is not just a marketing episode. There's going to be some stuff specific to One Condoms, but there's also a lot of really general questions about condoms, condom usage, and all of the things. And so excited to jump into this today. But before we do, Mila, do you mind introducing yourself for anybody who doesn't know who the wonderful Mila is?
Absolutely. So I'm Mila Impola, and I'm the marketing director at Global Protection, which is the parent company of One Condoms. So I oversee a lot of our programs. Like we just launched a college ambassador program and the One on Stage, where we work with a lot of really cool local bands to do safer sex and condom outreach. Also our advertising, all kinds of things that come in the daily life of being a condom marketer. I talk about condoms with literally anyone who will listen. So whether I'm in a cab share with somebody or just having a drink at a bar, like naturally it always ends up coming up somehow. So it's definitely, I'd love to talk about condoms, lubricants, sexual health all day long.
Amazing. So this is like vacation for you being here today.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, I'm curious, before we do jump in, how did you get into the condom game? How did you get into Big Condom? And what's got you? I mean, how are you so excited about condoms?
So I was born and raised in Finland in Europe, and I moved to Texas at the sweet, gentle age of 11, and then started to have I guess it was only really in high school, one class on sex ed, which was abstinence only, and very quickly realized, I think they talk about sex a little bit different than I'm used to over in Europe. And then got very passionate. Just the class was just riddled with stereotypes and stigma and shame. It was very much Mean Girls sex ed lesson style. So was very interested, ended up doing sexual health in college at the University of Texas. Then when I moved to New York City, I did public relations, all for organizations that do LGBTQ equality, sexual health, women's rights, that kind of stuff. And One Condoms ended up being one of my customers. And lo and behold, a few months later, I ended up moving to Boston because I was just so excited to work for One Condoms. One Condoms is what I passed out in college when we were doing sex ed distribution and passing out condoms. It's what I distributed at concerts when I lived in New York City while I was working for a nonprofit. So I feel like slowly my whole life trajectory was to end up working for condoms. And really, it's just about helping to educate, making people feel comfortable having conversations with their partners, not just about condoms, but also sexual health and sex in general. And it's honestly just really fun to talk about. And the people in the industry are also really fun to be around. So work days, you can imagine at a condom company, no day is the same. And we have so much fun at work.
Excellent. Well, I love it. I love too just your sort of motivation to get in, dig in, and help people do sex better, be more educated about it, be safer about it, and sort of flying in the face of what you had in terms of sex ed and sexual health education. So super glad to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you.
So the first question, we thought we'd dig in, sort of building some background on condoms and then dive into usage and the troubles people are having with them. But the first thing we wanted to talk about today was the different types of non-latex condoms, or maybe briefly talk about the anatomy of a condom and then the different types of non-latex condoms to kick us off today.
Sure. So the anatomy of the condom, there's what is often called the bead at the very bottom. So it's the opening of the condom. That's, for example, when people tell me, Mila, all condoms are the same. It's just different marketing on the wrapper. It's not true. Like even the bead, if you open some different condom brands, suggest it, super fun activity. But if you look at the bead at the base, some brands have like a thicker one versus a thinner one. So depending how thick that is, it can also make the condom feel tighter. So that's a difference in condoms. There's obviously the shaft of the condom and then the reservoir tip at the very top. So even with those, there's differences between brands, even the type of latex that people use between brands. And then when it comes to non-latex condoms, and we at One Condoms are working on a little something. I just can't tell you exactly when and what it is yet, but stay on the lookout for that. Maybe in 2025, who knows? But there's polyisoprene, polyurethane, and then nitrile, right? So polyisoprene is a form of rubber. It's a synthetic form of rubber. So it's going to have a lot of the same qualities that a latex condom would. It's just all the proteins that would cause a latex allergy to have a reaction are removed in polyisoprene. So Skin is probably the most popular one that people see on the US market, and Skin is by Lifestyles. It can feel stretchier than latex, though. That's a common thing that a lot of people will comment about. And then there is polyurethane, which is a completely different material from rubber. So it's a form of plastic, essentially, which doesn't sound sexy, but they actually are very cool condoms. And because it's not rubber, right? Rubber is like if you think of a rubber glove, it's an insulator. It traps in body heat versus something like polyurethane and nitrile, because it's a completely different material. That's a common feedback with those types of condoms, is that they transfer heat better than a rubber latex condom would.
Got it.
And the example of a polyurethane is Trojan's Raw is a non-latex condom. I think it used to be called Supra or something previously, but now they have that. And then there's also the FC2 internal condom, which is made of nitrile. So it's another, because nitrile is not a rubber-based product. It transfers heat very well, just like a polyurethane condom would.
Yeah, amazing. And we're going to dig into internal condoms in just a second. But I had a question. Actually, I was at a dinner party a few weeks ago, and I realized I go to weirder dinner parties than most people. But one of the people at the dinner party was telling me about a condom that he found when he was in Quebec, and it's the best way I could describe it, because of course he went and got some and then like put them on a banana for me just to show me how they worked.
You have great friends.
I know, right?
I would go to this dinner party.
So the best way I could describe it was it was sort of like a saran wrap shaped like a condom that had like pull tabs, and you just like pulled it on like a sheath over a sword, and then it had like a wider base. It didn't have the bead you were talking about. It was almost like flared out. And
I've seen those before.
Yeah, I was curious. I was curious if you know about these. And I think, I'm not sure exactly what material that was, but it literally felt like unlubricated saran wrap. And he said he loved them because he could put whatever amount of lube on it and it wasn't all goopy when he took it out. And I was just curious if you'd heard of those.
I've heard of those. I'm not honestly sure what material they're made out of. They're not so common here, but I've definitely seen those.
Yeah.
It has like the little pull tabs, and they can also feel better in terms of fit, because you can kind of like pull it as much as you want or don't want and need.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting. He said once he got back to the US, he went to try to find them, and he had to like scour the internet to try to get them online. So I guess it's just for our Quebec listeners out there. So
I'm sure there's ways probably to try and buy them. Yeah.
Meshai, any questions on non-latex condoms from your side before we take the 200 level class?
The 200 level class. No, I think that's really interesting. I've never had someone like break down the different types before and say like what the feel texture is behind it and what people enjoy like or feel like what the feedback is from that. So that was great.
Yeah. I did have one other question, Mila. So this is one of my new favorite condoms out there is your condom, the Flex, which is a part graphene, part latex combination.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, just first of all, if you can explain a little bit about that, because I'm plugging it because it's like the most amazing condom I've ever used.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear it.
Yeah. And second, because I'm curious, for people with latex sensitivities, have you done any research on if this is sort of a viable option, or is there still enough latex that it's going to be irritating for people?
Yeah, unfortunately, there would still be enough latex to where we would, if you have latex sensitivities or allergies, where one flex isn't it's not gonna really work because, so graphene on its own, it's a nanomaterial that was discovered 10 years ago by some really cool UK physicists. It's the strongest, thinnest, and most conductive material ever discovered. So NASA uses it. All kinds of industries that for the last 10 years have been like racing to try to figure out how to use this nanomaterial. And then we said, well, let's put it in our condoms, right? So took us 10 years because condoms are a medical device, takes a lot of development and testing to make sure that they're, safe and effective. So to bring Flex to market took us about 10 years in the research and development. And the cool thing that adding graphene or enhancing the latex with graphene does is, like I mentioned earlier, latex is its own, comes from rubber. Rubber is an insulator, traps in body heat. But you add graphene to latex, it really helps improve that heat transfer. And that's probably the number one most common comment we get about Flex is that it really helps with the heat transfer, feeling more of your partner's body heat. What's also cool is latex, right? A lot of people want a thinner condom because thinner, you tend to feel more. There's less latex between you and your partner, so you feel more. But as latex gets thinner, there's less of the material to stretch. So sometimes even though it's thinner and you feel more, if the penis circumference is wider, then it can start to feel tight. So you feel more, but you also might feel less because it's more constricted sometimes, depending on penis size. So the cool thing that graphene does when you add it to latex, because it's so strong and thin, it helps keep the condom thin, but it also kind of fills in those latex molecules, so it's stretchier. So even though it's thinner, it still stretches better. So
that's cool.
Some cool things about that. But unfortunately, we would not recommend Flex if you do have a latex allergy or sensitivity, because it is still a latex-based condom enhanced with graphene.
I got it. All right.
Okay, so enough about the boys. Let's talk about some internal condoms.
Let's do it. Internal condoms.
Internal condoms. So there's one brand name on the US market called FC2. Their brand name is FC2 female condom because for forever it could only officially be used vaginally. Now they still have that in their brand name. But like for us, we use terms like internal and external condoms because you never know who's using them.
Yeah.
Which is important for us to be inclusive.
Yeah.
And what's cool about the internal condom is that you can insert it ahead of time, right? And I do have friends that do this. We have customers who talk to us how they do this. So if they're going out on the town and they want to be ready, then they're already ready, right? And because it's made out of that nitrile, a common feedback is that it also has better heat transfer. You insert it and it starts to like warm up to your body heat. So that's very cool. Also puts the person who's using it in more control, right? Because unfortunately, people taking off condom during sex is something that's often talked about and is obviously terrible. Do not do that. That is a violation of somebody's consent to take off a condom in the middle of sex if that is not pre-negotiated. And the cool thing about FC2 on their website is that certain insurance also covers it. So you can look on their website for information and you basically get a prescription and then you can get them for free sometimes through insurance. And now a lot of health organizations, nonprofits, clinics, like Global Protection is the exclusive distributor to the public sector. So we work with a lot of clinics and health orgs around the country who hand them out for free.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
What's been the feedback on like feel of like of another partner, like your other partner feeling sensation while using the internal condoms?
So I think that there's a variety of experiences, right? Like for example, I have friends and customers who absolutely love it. And then there's some people who are like, hey, I tried this and this isn't for me, right? Like if you have a vagina, for example, some people just like, it definitely takes practice. That's what I will say. Like, because you insert it right, and there's the internal ring that goes on the inside, and then you have to make sure that the outer ring stays on the outside and like stays in position. So that's what I do recommend is like first time and be like, oh, this is a new experience, right? And I do recommend just trying it out a few different times.
Mhm.
I always like to say try things 5 times, but not everyone tries things 5 times before they decide they don't like something. But take
Is
some
the
practice.
insertion kind of similar to like diaphragm usage? Like
Exactly.
okay.
Or like if somebody's ever used a NuvaRing, or honestly even like a tampon, because you kind of squeeze the inner ring and insert it, and then you just make sure it like twists and is in place.
Yeah.
And FC2 has a lot of really great how to use videos on their website.
Okay.
People do often also use it for anal use. That is considered like off-label use, right? Because just like external condoms, internal condoms are a medical device.
Yeah.
People use them for anal, yes, of course. And we have a lot of customers that do that, which is cool.
Life
That's
hacks.
a really good.
Life
That's really good to know.
And technically, like just like external condoms, everything has a consistent and correct use, right? If you're using it perfectly every single time, this is the rate of failure. So for internal condoms, it's 95%. External condoms are 99%. But a lot of that, as I've been researching, it's not necessarily that the tool itself doesn't work. It's just that there's a lot more often improper use with internal condoms. Because we don't talk about them enough, because it is a different experience, right? You have to make sure that the internal ring is in place, the outer ring is in place, and it doesn't like shift around during use. But as like an apparatus of preventing pregnancy and STIs, I would say that they're pretty much both effective. It's just about using it correctly. Just like with external condoms, there's a lot of ways that people can use them incorrectly, which that's why we do what we do and why education is so important to us.
Yeah. I love that. And this isn't, again, none of the three of us are doctors, but I would just say similar to an external condom, right? They protect against the part of the body that the condom is covering, right? And so if you still have skin to skin contact, there's still a potential for transmission of some skin to skin transmissible STIs. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't protect anything that's not being, covered by the material.
Right. And also making sure that any lubricant that you use is compatible with the type of material that either one of the condoms is made out of. Even for us, because we are the manufacturer, right, of like one condoms, if there's an instant of breakage that we hear about, whether it's through customer service, because breakages do happen, right? One of the most common reasons, because we do kind of like a survey so that we can educate and understand, is that people use oil-based products with our latex condoms, and anything oil, whether it's Vaseline or coconut oil or something like that, lotions will break a latex condom. The molecules, they just don't like each other. So just always checking that your lubricant is compatible with the type of condom you're using is very important, because it is a very common little mishap when it comes to condom use.
Well, yeah, and people love coconut oil these days. And so we're coming to lubes in after recess. We'll get to lubes in a minute. But
so one of my favorite topics in the world.
Excellent. Well, before we jump to lubes, I would love to talk about two other types of condoms that we had questions about. So one is around anal sex, and I know there are some condoms out there that are labeled as for anal usage, and I'm curious, are there differences between those and condoms for PIV sex? Or I guess what does that mean if a condom is approved for butt stuff?
Butt stuff approved, yeah. So condoms have an intended use, right? Just like any medical device. What is this medical device intended to be used for? And forever and ever, that only included vaginal use, right? Not because the FDA doesn't like anal. That's usually the first question I always got. But it's because nobody had brought them a study that says, hey, we took our condoms, we ran them through a clinical trial, a study where people used them during anal, reported of any instances of breakages, and then could summarize that data and show, okay, yes, of course, condoms used for this purpose. We've always known that they do work for that purpose. But we had to then, and we partnered with Emory University down in Atlanta, ran this clinical trial together. Very cool stuff. If anyone wants to nerd out about that study, we have a lot of notes on it. Then we could take that data to the FDA, and we're able to now put on our packaging intended for vaginal and anal use, right?
Cool.
Another project that took us 10 years, but we truly believe that it's important for people to feel confident that their condoms work for the purpose that they use them for. But what was funny is at the time, or actually very cool at the time, is when it got announced by the FDA in February of 2022. All these media outlets from around the world, like some small Portuguese newspaper was talking about anal sex and condoms, right? Or Saturday Night Live was talking about it. So for us, this like moment of just talking about condoms and anal and safer sex in the news and people online was very, very cool for us from like a public health, let's just talk about it kind of perspective.
Yep.
But what did happen, unfortunately, was some reporters somehow got a little bit confused and wrote like designs condoms specifically for anal. That's not what happened. It's that we took our existing condoms, tested them during anal use, and then could take that data. Does it mean that other brands don't work for anal? No, it doesn't. Like we don't want to say, we would never try to say only ours work for anal, nobody else's does, because that would not be, we truly believe in being an honest broker of information.
Yeah.
So for us, we've tested ours, but condoms have to like meet the same safety standards under the FDA. But we're just proud that we did this work to help show people, yes, they work for this purpose, and you can feel confident that they work during anal.
Yeah. And if you're a rule follower and you don't want to use these for off-label purposes,
right,
this is your option.
Yeah, come check out One Condoms or Butt Stuff Approved.
That's right. I also love the irony that our society is so uptight about stuff like this that when you put out a condom like this, that people pick it up all over the media just because they get to talk about butt sex for a minute and make jokes about it, right? So sometimes our puritanical culture works in your favor as a marketer, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have even these cool stickers that have the little Butt Stuff Approved logo, and I have it on my laptop, and I travel a lot, so I like to just open my laptop at the airport and do a little work or whatever, and then you can just see them, a lot of people looking at it, and I've had multiple people ask like, is your laptop Butt Stuff Approved? Like, what's
Yeah.
It's a conversation starter.
Only when it's closed.
Yeah, so if you need a good conversation starter, in public, let me know and I'll send you some stickers.
There you go. I love that. I will say too, I had a fun experience a couple of months ago. So we run speed friending events, or we run events here in the Bay Area, and you give us tons of condoms to give away. And so I was giving away condoms at the end of the event, and we were explaining the backdoor pack, which is where you've put together a handful of these condoms, and I was like, well, this is the backdoor pack. You can kind of figure out what that's for. And like with this person up in the front was like, mine, and was like jumping up and down trying to like take it from me. I was like, okay, here you go. It's yours. You got it. So, so there's some fans out there is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And it is like the backdoor pack. Some people immediately get it. But I remember like my dad is very interested in like my career and always like learning what's happening. And when I went to go visit Finland last fall, I brought the backdoor pack and I said, Dad, look at this. We just designed this. And he's like, what do you mean backdoor pack? And I was like, then I got to explain to my father what that means. So,
you said I have cool friends. You and your dad have way different conversations than me and mine. So amazing. All right. Meshai, butt stuff questions before we jump into the next type of condom?
No, I thought that was kind of brilliant that it's like not specifically for this, but it's like we've designed this so this can be actually helpful. I like that. There's some versatility there.
Yeah. Amazing. I love all the work you do, Mila. I always get excited when we chat. So
thank you. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah. All right. The next question we had, and this was sort of a generic one about oral condoms, and if there's any real good designs out there for oral condoms to help prevent I think particularly this one was a concern around HPV and transferring HPV.
Cancer and things like that.
Yeah. It is important that you can transmit STIs during oral sex as well.
Mm-hmm.
So condom-wise, like external condom-wise, some of the recommendations that, our customers love to share all their tips and tricks with us is like the flavored condoms, right? And even with flavored condoms, one of the common thing that's a little bit misconstrued is like flavored condoms are only for oral sex. And the answer is, it depends. Some brands or styles use like a sugar or a sweetener to make them taste sweeter. So therefore, like if somebody's prone to yeast infections or things, probably don't recommend them to use other than orally, but they are like tested for also vaginal and anal use, right? But like, for example, our One Condom's flavor waves are more scented because your sense of smell is so connected to your sense of taste that people, like, we do taste this of them all the time. And people are like, yeah, this really tastes like bubblegum or chocolate strawberry. But it's not going to be a punchy flavor. Like we have a brand called Trustex where there is a little bit of like sweetener in there. So it's going to actually taste sweet. It's just, again, it's like up to like, I recommend trying a bunch of brands and styles and seeing like, what flavors do you like? Do you like where it's like really punchy flavor sweet or like a little bit less so?
And with all of these, those flavors are going to be still sort of competing with the taste of latex, right? Because these are still latex.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So that is a thing, is like, and latex does have it has a smell for sure. I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't. So that's something where then you could try non-latex, like skin condoms. I will say they do have like a pretty pleasant smell. So those I would recommend. Or even sometimes like the experience also, especially given a blow job. If the condom is like an improper condom fit, for example, if it's like condoms are too long for like 91% of people. So sometimes that extra latex can hang off at the tip. So if you imagine if you're given oral sex to somebody with a penis, that can be uncomfortable, right? Like a lot of extra latex. So sometimes getting the right condom fit can also help with that. And then flavored lubricants. One condoms doesn't, we have a water-based, silicone, and a hybrid. We don't have a flavored, but like some personal favorites of mine is Wicked, makes a wicked good salted caramel, I will say. I'm pretty particular. And we do lube testing in the office where we just like, we'll like literally taste different lubricants in the conference room. So
yeah, your office lunches are different than ours. Today we're doing lube shots.
Or like even, sometimes like strawberry lubricants, they can be like that really super fake strawberry. I will say Honey Pot's strawberry lubricant it's good. Like I would literally put that on ice cream if there wasn't like alternate sources out there.
If you were in a pinch.
You were in a pinch, it is delicious. Or even J.O. Lubes is a brand, Joe Lubes, I think it's called. They have like every flavor under the sun, like cocktails and desserts and things. So if you're really into like trying your own conference room version of a lube testing, I would recommend checking them out. Because then you can add the flavored lube to the condom to help mask a little bit of that latex.
Team building exercise.
That's really good to know, because it's like you want to get one that's like good for them, but that also like tastes good. And sometimes finding the right one is really like a funhouse mirror situation. So just having some like go-tos that you've suggested, that's awesome.
And it's like, oh my gosh, I have these like 6 flavored lubricants and I really just would like to, give you some oral sex so I can figure out what's my favorite one. Like, I don't know that a lot of people would say no to that. I mean, consent's important, but
It's for research purposes.
For research purposes.
Amazing. Wow. All right. We've got one more sort of topic to dig into before we jump into sort of some of the usage questions and advice questions. But this one is about lubes and the different types of lubes. I know you talked about oil-based lubes earlier, but maybe if we could do a quick run through of the sort of broad topics of lubricants and what they're good for and when to avoid them.
Yeah. So water-based is probably the most common lubricant that exists on the market. So it's easier to clean. It's easy to clean up. It absorbs into your body, but it can be a little bit less long-lasting. Like silicone is super long-lasting, right?
Also harder to wash off.
Harder to wash off. And like if you get it on the tiles in your bathroom, like really like clean it with soap and water because it will get super slippery, right? Silicone can also stain sheets. But it is like for us, our Move lubricant, which is silicone, is our number one seller for sure because it is so long lasting. A little goes a long way. And then there's hybrid lubes, like for us, Oasis Silk, where it's like a little bit of both, water based with adding silicone. So you get that feeling of like it absorbs into your body. It's not going to it's easier to clean up, but it is also more longer lasting often than like typical water based lubes.
And do those are, you can use those with condoms, right? With a latex condom, there's no adverse interactions between a hybrid or a silicone-based lube and a condom as there would be with an oil-based lube.
Correct. And like sometimes people say like, Mila, you can't use silicone lube with latex condoms. But fun fact, the lubricant on most condoms is silicone because silicone lasts longer in the wrappers and that kind of thing. It doesn't dry up as fast as a water-based would. So most condoms are lubricated with silicone, medical grade silicone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe that confusion comes in with around, right? You don't want to use a silicone lube with a silicone toy because the silicones will, if you've even like left two silicone toys next to each other, there's a reaction that can happen where they'll almost start to melt. I know this can depend on like the quality of the silicone and all of that, but just a warning to probably not use a silicone-based lube on your silicone toys.
Correct. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Because it does, you're right, depend on the grade of the silicone too and the grade of the toy, but I would just say don't.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, because you don't want to ruin your beautiful sex toys.
Right. Right. All right. So we've got through sort of the brass tacks. I feel like that was the 100 level class. That was, here's all the basics of what condoms and lube are. And now we're going to talk about application.
I took notes. I hope everybody else took notes.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do the 200 level class.
You took notes. So you're ready for 200 level, Meshai. These are going to be tests for you.
Okay.
Yeah. The quiz portion of this podcast is now starting.
The application process. So our first question comes from, within our community, which for anybody who's in the dark at this point, Emma and I, who normally host this podcast with me, is we host a virtual community of over 300 people. And so a lot of the questions from today came from inside of our community. And if you'd like to join, you can find out more information on our website under the community tab. So links are in the show notes and all of the stuff. But this question is, I use condoms with partners except one to whom I am fluid bonded, which for anybody who doesn't know, that's a term typically used to say that you barrier-free sex. I find the desensitization that happens with using condoms means I don't enjoy penetrative sex nearly as much. So I tend to deprioritize PIV, so penis and vagina, or PIA, penis and anus or ass, I suppose, when I play with those partners. I'm broadly fine to do it, but it is much less for me and much more for my partner. So I'd be interested in knowing if there are any strategies or products that might help me improve sensitivity. All right.
Love to answer that.
Awesome.
So definitely check out like One Flex, where we talked earlier about the heat transfer and it's thinner, but still helps make sure that it doesn't feel as tight. But check that out. Then also Condom Fit. So it is, imagine if the world had like one size of shoe and we were like, everybody just try to kind of use it, and hopefully it's going to work out for you. Or even a bra. Imagine everybody in the world fitting into the same bra. Probably not going to be that comfortable for everybody, right? So same comes with condoms, where condoms are about 7 inches long usually. They're too long for 91% of people, because in the original days, they were just trying to make a condom that was going to be long enough to cover most people. So they made it purposely longer than what they know most people need. It's also tighter than what most people need, because you have to like kind of find some middle ground where it's going to be too tight for a lot of people, but also tight enough so that some people don't like experience slippage. But as beautiful as this method seems, I think most people are aware penises come in different sizes. So if you feel that once you put the condom on, you lose all sensitivity, a custom fit condom just might be what you need, right? Because that's why my one custom fit does 10 different lengths from 4.7 to 9.3 inches long, and then 9 different girths or circumferences from like a super snug to a super wide. And there's 52 combinations of those. I know 9 times 10 is 90, but we don't do every single possible size combination. And usually even in the educator space, because I used to be a sex educator, people will pull the condom over their arm and they're like, Mila, I can pull a condom over my arm. Nobody should be able to complain about condoms. There's 2 main things about that, is that my arm is very different anatomy than that of a penis, right? There's a solid bone in here in my arm. I'm pointing to my arm currently, where it can withstand a lot of pressure. So yeah, you can stretch condoms. You can stretch them over a watermelon. One of the tests that condoms go through is an airburst test, where they literally blow it up and make sure it can withstand a certain amount of air. But when you put a condom that's just way too tight in circumference on a penis, it can cause instant erection loss. Or I have it right now on my wrist too, where you leave a rubber band on your wrist too long and it leaves that like painful purple mark. or it's just so tight that you lose a lot of sensitivity. That's why we do the different circumferences so that people can find either that's something that's wider, a lot wider, a little bit wider, or then there's the challenge of like condom slippage. For us, even out of all 52 sizes, the snuggest one, so the shortest and tightest, is our number one seller and has been every single month for the last 7 years since we launched in the US. Because even the snug fit condoms that are on the market, they're usually the same length at 7 inches long, which is too long. They're just a little bit tighter. So that's where my own condoms can come in. If you lose sensitivity, you lose your erection because they're too tight, or you're worried that it's going to slip off, or you've experienced condom slipping off. And it's like getting a shoe that actually fits. And we do, in the last 7 years, we have thousands of people who will sometimes send in like a whole page full of story, like how this truly changed their life in terms of comfort and also confidence. Like they don't have to worry, as one customer once said, about the mechanics of the condom. They can actually focus on their partner and their pleasure because the condom gets out of the way. And now you can actually focus on the great parts of sex.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it. And these are another one that I rave about to people all the time because like you said, there's just so many ways that they don't feel good, right? Too big doesn't feel great. Too small obviously doesn't feel good. And yeah, just because you can fit it over your arm or over a watermelon, if you could ask that watermelon, I would imagine it doesn't feel great to the watermelon. So
right. The watermelon's like, help.
That's right. That's why we buy unseeded watermelons, right? So that it's not a problem. Sorry. Anyway, Meshai, help me out. Any questions on this one or thoughts on this one?
I'm still stuck on a seedless watermelon and just like, it's amazing. No, actually, I thought that was really interesting because I have seen the whole, like, you can put your whole arm in that and it's like totally fine. But I've had experiences with other partners where, you know, it doesn't actually fit, or they are too big, or there's too much length on the end. And so it's easy to come off in the middle, and like too much friction. And it's not so much like the breakage thing, is just the fact that it won't like stay on, or period. Yeah. Like it just comes off. So it's good to know that there's different sizes out there.
Yeah.
And also using extra lube is important because lube really does help prevent condom breakage. Like, yes, most condoms are lubricated, but there's only so much lubricant you can fit into the wrapper. So we always recommend using a little extra lube.
Yeah.
Lube is your best friend.
Yeah, and to that end, I was just going to throw out one other tip that I was reading about this last night because I'd heard this in the past, and then I'd heard people argue with it, and then I went to do a little bit of research, and that is the trick of putting a little bit, not a lot, but like a drop or two of lube inside the condom or on the head of the penis before you put the condom on can help it sort of slide and not get stuck. It just kind of feels better. And sort of the caveat here is you don't want to put a ton on because yes, it can help. The condom can slip off, but just a little amount can be beneficial in helping sort of increase sensitivity for the condom wearer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and exactly. Don't put too much because then it can like help contribute to slippage. Like don't fill it up halfway full of lube. Just a little drop.
Just halfway full. It's a slip and slide.
Amazing. All right. Okay, so our next question is about, well, it's a mix of things. It's a little bit about kink, but mostly about putting condoms on uncircumcised penises. And so question is, as a kinky top, sometimes I like to tie up a penis having partner, which means sometimes I'm putting a condom on for this partner. At 50 years old, I feel like I should know how to put a condom on an uncircumcised penis. I admit I'm intimidated. Can you help provide some coaching and tips on this? All right, Mila, thoughts? First of all, maybe can we talk? I know you are a celebrator of Foreskin Day, which again, another thing I've learned since meeting you, that there's such a thing as Foreskin Day, but maybe a brief talk about what that is and why do we need Foreskin Day?
Yeah, so it was a day created originally by an organization called Intact. And then we would just like throughout, just like Measure Penis Day around my own custom fit condoms came from like customers asking questions like, how can I talk to my partner about custom fit condoms? I need some advice. Foreskin Day for us and why we started to celebrate it for the first time this year was because we kept getting a lot of questions from customers like, hey, how do I measure when I have a foreskin? Or what condoms do you recommend for people with a foreskin? all kinds of questions. And while we had some stuff on the website, we were like, we can do better, right? Like we can do better. So the first step was we started researching, and there's just not that much out there, like when it comes to education specifically about condoms. So then again, we put out the question to our wonderful community who loves to send us lots of thoughts and feedback, where they actually recommended how to measure what condom styles they like the best. One thing that came through that, for example, was that putting the lubricant in the tip of the condom to help make sure that the foreskin doesn't get like caught in the condom itself, using lube in general. And it was just interesting to see, even from our customers, how they were like, yeah, we agree. There's just not enough conversation about this. Like, I'm from Europe. We'll talk about foreskin all day long versus very different, I feel like, here in America. And for us, because it relates to body positivity, celebrating bodies of all kinds, and education and condom usage, we were like, well, obviously we're going to celebrate Foreskin Day and do this whole campaign around it. So one is not afraid to like have conversations that maybe some other brands wouldn't.
Yeah, amazing. And also anybody who caught that, if you do go to Europe, that's all they talk about all day long. It's like I lived there for 3 months, and man, it's a crash course. So
seriously, and then my friends are like, "What do you mean?" Like friends in Finland are like, "What do you mean you don't talk about foreskins in America?"
So book your trips to Finland. You'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Well, there's like also a really growing community, just with like LGBTQ. And even with just like men in general, or people with penises in general, where they're talking about wanting to leave that part of the body intact.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And how important it is for sexual health and just for sensation. Like, I think I went to, it's not this year, I think it was last year, I went to Pride in Atlanta, and there was like a whole booth where people could come and learn about like foreskin and like the condoms that work best for it and why it's important to have it, or what does it look like to try to nurture that part of your body to like grow a little bit back or better or whatever. So I think that's so cool that you guys are bringing that to light as well.
Yeah.
Did you say in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we worked with them. Yeah, we sent our foreskin friendly styles to them, and we
Awesome.
love Intact. Yeah, they're great.
It was a great booth.
Well, now I'm curious, what's a foreskin friendly style? What does that mean?
So those recommendations came from our customers. So there's condoms that have extra lubricant on them. Yes, recommend also putting extra lube, but if they already are extra lubricated, like our super sensitive, that was popular. Then styles like Pleasure Plus, where there's more headroom, like Pleasure Plus has a pouch at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So less likely that the foreskin would get caught in the condom itself. Or like the number one thing was custom fit condoms, so that they can get like a size that fits them perfectly in order to like help make sure that the condom doesn't get in the way.
Yeah.
And one of the common things was, am I supposed to retract my foreskin or not? And it's like, well, and there's also lots of back and forth on this on the internet, but our customers said, well, I don't like to retract it during sex. Therefore, I don't retract it when I measure. Because sometimes people have like a bigger foreskin. So it might add like, for example, to the girth code, it might add an extra code. So however you use your penis during sex, that's how we recommend you measure it. Yeah. And that recommendation came from customer feedback. So
that's brilliant. I'm curious too, what I've taken away from a lot of this conversation is, right, especially in the US, just maybe to kind of validate this person that struggling with this isn't just them, right? Like we don't talk about this in the US. There isn't a lot of information about this in the US. And I'm curious, like in your survey, did you get any data about are other people struggling with this as well? Or I guess just sort of this person's not alone in this is what I'm kind of looking for.
100%. Yeah, like 79% of the survey participants said that they have had trouble using condoms. And then 27% of those said that it bunched in their foreskin. And a lot of them talked about like, there's just not education. Like even when I go talk to like a health clinic or something, everyone's kind of like, foreskin, what are you talking about? So it just like highlights the importance of just having these conversations, making sure like in condom demonstrations that educators might be doing that you talk about that. Yeah. And then unfortunately, 1 in 3 of the participants said that they had been treated differently by a partner. So it's also like, how do you act as a partner if you are having an experience with somebody that has a foreskin? Like, make sure that you're positive and you're not shaming them, because that is unfortunately like the stigma I feel like sometimes can exist here in the US, but it's just because we don't talk about it the way that we do in Europe, for example.
Yeah. Well, and as you pointed out at the beginning of this, our woefully terrible, inept sexual health education in our country, of right, the chances of that being talked about at any length is pretty slim, I would say, in school. Yeah.
And I would say for this this person who asked the question, one of the common things that a lot of the survey participants said is like, just be gentle. You know what I mean? Like, just be gentle, just like genitals in general, like be gentle, because a lot of them had experience where a partner like just didn't know what to do. And they would like immediately retract the foreskin and like pretend like there's one person said like they're starting a lawnmower. Like, it's just like, whoa, like just be gentle. Like, ask like, hey, does this feel good to you? It's the same thing with any sexual experience. Does this feel good to you? And same with condom use. You might want to like literally before it's in a sexual or a scene, why don't you just practice condom use together, right? Hey, why don't you show me how you like to put on a condom?
Yep.
And then you can feel confident because you're actually learning from the person that you're going to be putting it on.
Yeah.
And that can be a fun experience.
I'm so glad you said that, and you stole my thunder. But I want to reiterate this. It's that's the tip I give so many people. Especially, we get the question all the time from people like, "Oh, well, my partner and I just started swinging, and I haven't used a condom in 25 years or whatever." And we're actually coming up on a question in a few minutes about this, something similar. And I tell people all the time, like, practice, right? Practice by yourself. If you're masturbating, again, I know condoms aren't free, but practice using them, practice with different styles, practice putting them on. I even say, practice opening them with you got lube all over your hands. Like,
100%.
run yourself through the drills, like set yourself up, have some
Condom
fun.
drills.
Yeah. I mean, and I think again, for this person, right, practice with your partner. If you're not familiar with putting one on with somebody who has a foreskin, or you just in general, you're new to it, practice, right? Sit down with them and be like, hey, I'm excited about this, right? Take away that shame. I'm excited about this. I want to learn about this. I want this to feel amazing to you. Let's do some drills,
Yeah, 100%. Because then that person also feels like, oh, this person not only cares about like safety, but my pleasure. And then that tends to make people feel really good that you want to take care of me in various different ways. And yeah, what a fun science experiment to do together.
Yeah, I love that. I love that tip. And it's coming up again later. So yeah, I appreciate you throwing that out there.
Of course.
And if you want to grab some free condoms, go to a Pride festival. They normally pass out condoms throughout the whole thing. You'll probably leave with like 10 to 12 different kinds.
Yep.
And then go home and have a ball.
That's right.
Yeah. And there's so many health clinics and stuff. So if you're not sure what local clinic you have that might be handing out free condoms, you can contact us at Global or One Condoms. We can check it out for you because we do work a lot in the public sector. We also have a program called Momentum, loyalty program. You do some challenges online. We give you points. And then instead of paying with a credit card on onecondoms.com, you pay with your points. So we're definitely all about helping make sure that people can, access condoms.
Yeah. And one more quick plug for ways to save some money. We have a discount code with you. Yes, I believe it's Emma. We'll put it in the show notes. So yeah, you can save 20% off of anything on one's website. So check that out as well. All right. How do we feel about condoms and foreskin before we move on to our final class of the day?
Okay. I thought that was actually a really great little class session right there. I think a lot of people don't talk about that or know even how to begin that conversation. And you're right. There's a lot of stigma around it or like a little hesitancy in talking about that, especially in public spaces. So it's awesome.
Well, and what's hard too about that, even that hesitancy, again, and not to shame anybody who, right, the first time you see somebody naked and you see something different that you've never seen before, of course, you're probably going to have some hesitancy, but on the receiving end of that can be a little bit tough to be like, whoa, okay, they're surprised, like what's happening, right? And so I would just also say, if you can work this into your safer sex conversation, right? Are there things that, you need to feel safe or want to talk about as you're getting ready to go down this road with somebody? Not a bad idea to talk about it at that point.
100%. Yeah.
So, All right. The last question is an audio question. So here we go.
Hi, what is recommended when I haven't used condoms in over 2 decades because I had a marital partner, and now that I'm looking into dating again, all I remember is how much I didn't like the feel of the condoms and they irritated my skin. So I need recommendations. Thank you.
All right. So it's been 2 decades since this person's used condoms. They had irritation and just generally didn't love them. What do you recommend, Mila?
The irritation part could be a latex allergy or sensitivity, for example, or people could be allergic to the lubricant in condoms. So that's where I would see if maybe it's the fact that they should try to use a non-latex condom.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the options that we talked about earlier. And if it's not that, then there are, like, again, One Flex and things where it's like made out of different materials specifically designed to enhance sensitivity, or trying the custom fit condoms, but also just having a conversation with the person you might be having sex with is like, hey, what type of condoms do you use? I think I might have a latex allergy. Would you be down to try some non-latex options? Like, what's your preferred brand of choice? And helping understand that also ahead of time, right? Like, condom use is important to a person. Then talking about that really ahead of time, I do recommend. Before it's the situation where you might be about to have sex and it's like, do you have a condom? I don't know. No, I don't. I didn't think we were using those. That whole conversation, I genuinely think is better to have and to set expectations before you're in a situation.
Yeah.
Right before sex.
Yeah. So you're not running down to the convenience store, gas station in the little trying to get one out of the vending machine, right? So, yeah.
Right. And then also understanding, like, does this person I might want to have sex with, do they also share my wants for using a condom? Because I know that can sometimes be a conversation where it's like, where people don't align, and then it can just be awkward if it's in the moment. So setting those expectations ahead of time and understanding, what type of condom are we using? Do we need to go get some? Are you bringing them? Am I bringing them? Are we both bringing some just in case, just to set some of those expectations. And if you've always wanted to try an internal condom, for example, that's another great one to just practice on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. I think, right, so, sort of what I've kind of taken away from the last hour or so of us chatting is a lot's changed in the condom game over the last 20 years. And so there's a lot of different options, different lubes, different things to try out. And I think I go back to my practice, right? Practice with yourself, practice with your partner, even if you don't normally use condoms together, right? If you're both sort of opening up and trying to explore this world, right? It's a good for both of you to practice using them, figure out which ones work, which ones don't, and just have fun with it, right? There's not a rule that you can't use condoms with your partners that you're, quote unquote, fluid bonded with. Like they don't instill a rule when you get rid of them that you can't bring them back. So bring them back, try them, practice them, find the ones that work, and have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My 2 cents.
I've said it better myself.
Yeah. Meshai, any thoughts on your end? What do you recommend for this one?
I practice. Just lots of practice and figuring out what it is you like and what you don't like. And you also don't need a partner all the time to figure out what it is you like and don't like whether it's like the taste of certain ones or the lubes that work best for you. Particular feels of condoms, like you can try those on like dildos that you have yourself and figure out whether or not you even like that feel. So practicing so you come to the sexual space with your own preferences that you can add to the conversation and you guys can figure it out together. So, yeah.
I loved to, sort of touching on what you both said about bringing your own, right? If you're the person, regardless, like if you know what you need for your body, I say bring that and advocate for yourself, right? I guess there's obviously a chance that you have like a wildly incompatible partner who's like, I cannot use that. Okay. Have that conversation, like you said, ahead of time. But I feel like just don't be afraid or ashamed to show up and be like, look, it's my body. It's going in me or it's going on me. And this is what is what I need. And I'm not trying to shift that responsibility to be on any gender necessarily. But if you know what your body needs, don't be afraid to advocate for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to also feel better during the experience because you know that you're taking care of, that the person you're with cares about what you need.
Yep.
And I do think that that's like a recipe for some really great sex.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. Wow. All right. This has been fun.
This has been fun. Thank you for having me and talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from Professor Mila about condoms, lubes, and all the things that we talked about today?
Well, get ready for this year's Measure Penis Day, which kicks off National Condom Month on February 1st. And, we got some Cyber Monday stuff coming up. And always find us on social at onecondoms.com. We do some cool stuff there. Well, I think it's very cool. So come check us out, follow us. And just very, very thankful to have been here today and to be able to talk about condoms and lube all day and have such a great conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for being here. And maybe one quick final thing around measuring, right? You mentioned Measure Penis Day. You offer like fit kits that people can order and get from you, but you can also just use like a regular, tape measure or, a string and measure the string afterwards, right? And then you can kind of punch that data into your website and get, that will be how you kind of find the right size fit for you, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and we'll tell you if you're a 45C or a 64M. Then we offer sample kits so you can actually test it out. Sometimes people do use the fit kit measuring tool like upside down. So the initial sample kit they get is the opposite of what they asked for, which is totally fine. And then we have condom size specialists who will help recommend and send a sampler of another size just to make sure we get the right perfect fit for everybody. And then from there, you can order the 12 or the 36 packs. There's also what we call a quick sampler. So if you don't have time to measure, don't want to measure, or you just want to give custom fit condoms to a friend and you don't know what penis size they have, which, I don't know if you know that about most of your friends. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There's quick samplers. So in a snug, classic, and a large, where it's like 3 sizes from the 3 different areas of the size chart. You can send them all 3 and say, hey, here's 9 sizes out of 52. You can test them out. But if you need a better fit, you can use the fit kit tool that'll come in all the packs and measure and then go get another size.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah. And then you can throw your own condom dinner parties just like mine.
Yeah. And if you want to, like I just actually shipped some to a customer. He's like, can I get some of your laminated fit kits? Like I'm always talking about your condoms now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've inspired another person to talk about condom fit at dinner parties. Woohoo! Which is ultimately one of my big goals anyway. But he's like, can you send me some of them? And I said, yeah, I'm going to send you like hundreds. And just got an email that said like, hey, thank you. Like now I can not only talk about it, but I can do like demonstrations. Like, okay, we're going to measure this banana together at this dinner party. So
that's really cool.
I think too, the idea when you're measuring, and this is just sort of a thought that popped into my head, right? It's the goal when you're measuring isn't how big can I get this? It's getting it to fit right. So it's not about like stretching it and like trying to sort of exaggerate what you need. It's about getting something that fits right and feels good.
Right. Because otherwise it's like you exaggerate, then it's like getting a suit where the sleeves are too long or they're too tight or whatever. So, just measure length and circumference while erect. That's also a question we get a lot. Do I measure erect or soft? Measure while you're erect. Yeah, it's the length and circumference.
Yep.
And there's things called width codes. Like our codes are width codes because of the condom width, but you do measure circumference. So all the way around. So not just the width like on top of the penis, but circumference all the way around.
Perfect. It's a great Pi Day activity as well.
Pi Day activity.
All right. We're out of control over here. All right. So, thank you again, Mila, for coming on today, for sharing everything. And Meshai, also wanted to check in with you. Final thoughts on condoms, lube, and all the things today.
I love that we've had this conversation. Thank you so much, Mila, for being here and for educating all of us on the things we didn't even know to ask, and for all the different ways in which condoms can not only benefit us, but protect us, and also can be fun. and that you guys have such a wide range of like ways to help other people figure out what works best for them. So I'm just really excited, and I hope the community learned and took notes, and we'll pop quiz you guys later, and all the cool things that we got to talk about today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mila. And I just want to say too, it's awesome to talk to somebody who's as excited about this as you are, right? This isn't just a slog for you every day. And so I hope people take away that they're working with somebody who's passionate about what they do and cares. And so thank you for being you and for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate both of you.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.